welcome back, everybody, to another production meeting. We are all here and lively, right? Yay! After that awesome movie. Awesome movie. Awesome. So awesome. What has everyone been up to this week?
I just did the homework.
You just did it? So
no, I mean, that's all I did.
Oh,
That's all you did?
Well, and I played the Sackboy: A Big Adventure game. That's pretty good. That's a PS5 game. That's pretty much Mario if he were a little brown puppet.
if he were on PlayStation.
If you were on PlayStation.
Exactly. So that's the majority of what I did.
Sweet.
That sounds super fun. I'm super excited, man. Today's the first day of the NHL hockey season. I don't know if you can see the Jets logo. They don't play today. They play tomorrow. I think your Capitals play tomorrow as well.
Yes, we do. We play. I don't like, not to get this into a hockey discussion, but I think, like, I understand the setup of the NHL season. Like, you're pretty much, well, at least the first chunk of it, you're playing your division, and that's pretty much it. But like four of the first 6 games we play this year are against Nashville or Buffalo. One of those two.
Don't worry, man. You're gonna play them like 5 to 6 more times.
Yeah, and I forget, some big rookie is gonna be playing Austin Matthews like 9 times. I forget what team that is that got the big rookie, but anyway, yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna be watching tomorrow. I'm glad that's not tonight. I would be watching it right now. Yeah. I'd be like, guys, I can't make it. I'm watching the.
It's all good, man. So we're
drop.
Excited about that. Yeah. What did I watch this week? I didn't really watch a whole lot aside from the homework. I put on Cobra Kai, which I'd been putting off, and I got through a season of that. And so that was pretty good. I'd watched the first few episodes and I knew I was going to like it. So far, so good. And there's a reason why I haven't heard a single bad thing about it. I'm going to look at Ryan to see if he's about to say anything bad about Cobra Kai. No? Okay. Just waiting on it. Played some video games as per usual, the same ones, Overwatch. And I loaded the free PS5 game, or one of them this week, or PS4 game, Greedfall. I think that's what it's called, Greedfall. And I started playing that. I got like 10 hours into it. It's a little glitchy. It's not as smooth as I'd like, and the menus are a little clunky, but it's all right. I don't know if I'm gonna I never finish any games, so who knows how long I'm gonna keep playing it. But that's my go-to right now when I'm not playing Overwatch or Rocket League. Yeah, that's what I watched aside from the homework.
Cool.
Do you have to like the old Karate Kid to watch Cobra Kai?
I mean, it helps.
I'm just saying
to know
controversial things.
Well, you don't have to like it because the tones are completely different between both the movie and the TV show.
Put him in a body bag.
Yeah, it helps to know like the history of like where these 2 characters are, or 3 characters actually.
Sweep the leg.
You can't beat the crane.
I'm done.
Are you done? All right.
It's an illegal move. It's an illegal move.
Yeah, man. Should know that. Ryan, what about you, man?
I did watch a good amount, but I watched 2 new movies in theaters, which I know is meaningless to a lot of people who don't have theaters. We have a theater. I went and saw News of the World. Good.
No,
Matt didn't even do that. Okay. But that's directed by Paul Greengrass, starring Tom Hanks. Very good. Not amazing. I don't think anybody needs to run out to see it if that is an option to run out to see. But if you wanted to run out to see something because that is an option to run out to see, that is a good movie to run out to see. And then I saw the Italian adaptation of Pinocchio with Roberto Benigni because I was dragged to see it.
Wait, hold on. Time out. Is this a new one?
Yeah. It came out in the US on Christmas.
But he was in a Pinocchio adaptation like 20 years ago.
I thought so too. Yeah, this is another one.
Okay.
Why do we need this? Well, I guess he's trying to make it good because I remember the other one being horrible.
Yeah, critics seem to like it okay. I have a couple major problems with this movie. I don't like the story of Pinocchio, and so 2 hours of it is agonizing. It's 30 minutes too long. Like, it's so long.
I have so many problems with this movie. The one is I hate the story and the plot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the movie's fault. It does a very good job telling the story. But what I really didn't want to see was a human fish thing at all, outside of a horror movie. It's like a big tuna with a human face. Things like that happen. And if you are interested in seeing this movie at all, wait until it's not in theaters because it's very badly dubbed, and I don't know how to see it not dubbed. So that was consistently distracting.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think any Pinocchio adaptation is like not cringeworthy.
Yeah.
They're all like I mean, the first two that come to mind are, God, of all adaptations, Geppetto with Mr. Drew Carey back in like '97.
He's going to
And
the
then-
well. No one's thought about that movie in
Right.
25 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to say somewhere we have it on VHS somewhere. And then Jonathan Taylor Thomas did like one, didn't he? Where he was Pinocchio.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
he definitely did. That's definitely a thing.
Yeah, that's I don't know, like, other than
Oh.
Pinocchio, what the title is, but God, they're all just so cringy. Like I have no desire. Like, until people say, "Hey, this is good," I'm not going.
Well, just
are
wait,
we-
man. We got probably 2 or 3 years until Disney
Yeah, right.
spits that one out.
We
Lord.
have another one coming out this year.
Really?
By Guillermo, it's a stop motion animation Pinocchio by Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I
Yeah.
feel bad for sighing at that, but at the same time, we just had this conversation about this, so I'm gonna go ahead and sigh anyway, and hopefully be surprised that it's not completely garbage.
Has nobody watched like the Disney version, the 1940 animated?
Not in
No.
a while.
I mean,
It's
other
terrifying.
than that, that's it. I will agree with Ryan that there are some scarring moments in that, but objectively speaking, I think it's the least cringiest of them all.
I feel like Pinocchio is weird, where people like to hold it up and like, oh wow, this is a classic Disney movie. But does anybody ever really go back and rewatch Pinocchio?
Yeah.
Like, do you go back and sit?
Do you?
Oh no, I mean, I know what he's talking about though. It's creepy.
Even like you just watched it.
Yeah,
I
I was
watch
like,
it
yeah.
every other week, man.
Yes.
And then I
Yesterday.
turn the camera, and I'm watching it right now as we speak.
I'm gonna make an effort because I remember the movie being kind of decent, and then I watched this one, and I remember I was like, wow, Disney did in an 80-minute character arc what this film couldn't do in 2 hours. So I am gonna rewatch it this week. I just didn't get to it last night, which is when we saw it.
Enjoy watching all the children turn into donkeys, sir.
I had to watch that in live action, so I'm sure it's not as creepy.
I don't know, man. As a kid, that's scarring. Let's see.
Now I'm kind of concerned. I'm like how I turned out. That was my favorite Disney movie as a kid.
Little did we all know that he's a sociopath.
Right? Apparently. Well, in that case, I just kept reading Light of the Jedi. It's getting good. So that's all I did this week. Because my classes started on Monday. So
No
all I
more
have
time
time
for
for.
movies and reading. Yeah, you just have to study, Clint. Now
I
about this Light of the Jedi, is this whole arc, this trailer that I saw? Is this a bunch of things? Is this going to be like comics and books or whatnot? Is that what I saw,
Yeah.
or is this just the?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the High Republic. It takes place 200 years before the Skywalkers. And
Okay.
so even Yoda, I think Yoda's a part of it. And it's like the height of the Jedi, and it's going to be like comic books and like novels and things like that. It's a whole transmedia thing that they're doing. But the Light of the Jedi is like the first adult novel that kicks this off.
Okay. So I know in the trailer I was like, they have a Wookiee with a lightsaber, and I was like,
Mhm.
what?
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Which is funny because in the book, like nobody can understand him. And it's like, if he's a Jedi, why can't we understand?
What?
Yeah.
What?
Alex, that's what you sound like all the time to me sometimes.
Well, he is part Wookiee.
Part Wookiee.
Who, me? Yeah.
Yes. Lobaka.
Little Baka.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's it. I do have, before we get into our worst 5, I do have like little bits of news. First off, Liam Neeson has made a new movie. I can't really remember. Remember what the movie's called now.
The Marksman, I believe.
Oh, thank you. But of course, are you really? Okay, cool. So watch for his his review. But he did have an interview with Collider. That's who it was. And they asked him if he was up to being Qui-Gon again in the new Obi-Wan series, and he said yes, most definitely. So are we interested in seeing Qui-Gon come back as like a Force ghost? Thumbs up from Ryan. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. That sounds great.
Sure, man. As long as they don't de-age him or anything, I'm good.
As long as he's not going through, Alderaan or something, going, "Where's my daughter?" Then I'm good now.
Well, Liam Neeson is an ageless wonder, sir. So he looks the same as he did like 20 years ago.
That is true, but I remember saying he didn't get some type of role. I don't know if it has to involve Star Wars, and I don't think it did. But they were like, we didn't cast him for XYZ because I don't even remember who this was. They like said, we kind of feel like he's almost phoning it in at this point. He just doesn't have the charisma that he once had, if that's the word we want to use, back in late 90s, or whenever he was at the peak of his career. So I don't know if he would be I want to see Qui-Gon. Yeah, sure. But how good is it going to be? Question mark.
All right. Well, the next bit of news is Star Wars and Lucasfilms Games, which I think they need to kind of like modify this name because it's a little confusing. And Ubisoft is getting together to make an open world Star Wars game, which I am excited about because Ubisoft is the creators of Assassin's Creed and Hitman. So I think that'd be kind of dope. What do you guys think?
In that very microscopic corner, it's going to say EA somewhere.
Don't say
I was
that.
about to say, you didn't say EA,
won't trust it.
No. And Bethesda's making an Indiana Jones game too.
That I'm excited for. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited for the idea of it.
As always, I'm just going to reserve my expectations and just see what everyone just brings me. I'm just going to wait for those trailers and be like, okay, this is probably going to be disappointing, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll be awesome.
No? All right.
Who knows?
So who's supposed to be making it again? Bethesda?
Bethesda, yeah.
That doesn't sound like a match to me, like them and Indiana Jones, because they're usually about like very open world, like multiplayer kind of interactable games like that. So I don't get the combination here, but who knows? Maybe it'll be good.
Didn't Microsoft just buy Bethesda? Didn't somebody just buy Bethesda?
Yeah.
So that game's probably going to be like an Xbox exclusive anyway.
Crap.
That sucks.
Well, it's not good knowing that I probably won't have the option.
Yeah, that sucks. I completely forgot about that. Well, that's the Star Wars news. Also, Kevin Feige has had a few interviews, talked about some stuff because WandaVision starts on Friday. So, of course, he's making his press junkets. Top news out of this is that he said that Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier are going to be like hour-long dramas. That WandaVision, their run times are going to be kind of varied. She-Hulk is going to be like 30 minutes, like a 30-minute legal comedy / drama or whatever. And Deadpool 3 is confirmed to be a rated R. So they're kind of going with yay. Yeah, that was the best news out of this. They asked him about like the X-Men, and with WandaVision, he kind of was closed-mouthed about that. So, but yeah, Kevin Feige making some news. So what do you guys think?
I mean, runtimes, man. I'm just jacked about that Deadpool rating. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Ryan Reynolds is going to be excited. I'm just curious as to where Disney's going to put their name on the film. If it's going to be tucked away or if it's going to be like right up front. So that's going to be the interesting part.
I want the whole Disney castle.
The whole Disney castle. Right?
You know what? Yeah. You say that, and I guarantee you, if he can pull it, he'll want to do that joke right at the beginning of it, where it like does it, and then Deadpool pops in and makes some crazy joke. I guarantee you.
Probably true. But yeah, that's all the news, man. Just another slow one, except for this Kevin Feige stuff. There's a lot more stuff, but if you guys want to look it up, but I mean, because he talked X-Men and he talked how far the MCU has been mapped out, bunch of other stuff. Defenders, he did say that they were open to Defender characters being into some other MCU properties. They weren't like really concerned with like giving their own series yet. There's rumors that Jessica Jones is going to be in She-Hulk. Obviously, we've talked about Daredevil being in Spider-Man. So yeah, they're not open to it. They're not like planning it right now, but they're open to like popping them in there somewhere. So that's cool. Since that's all the news, let's get into
you forgot that Coming to America got a PG-13 rating.
Did I forget that though?
Yeah, everyone forgot that. So sorry guys if you were expecting that hard R for Coming to America with the 2 instead of the 2. But yeah, it's going to be PG-13. So keep your expectations as they were.
Low?
I mean, if that's what they were.
I can't pick up my expectations. They were that low.
Are you telling me you don't have your tickets yet, Ryan? You forgot that movie was coming out?
I can't even get tickets for the 29th when HBO is already promoting their new Denzel Washington film in theaters the 29th, and I can't even get tickets that far ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
What else? Other news. What didn't a film get pushed back too? What film just got pushed back, Alex?
Oh, yeah, Morbius. Morbius got pushed back until October. Thank you.
And the cycle begins again.
Yeah. There's rumors also that yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to be writing Netflix like a letter here soon. Like, I've tagged you enough. Like, come on. So, yes, Morbius has been pushed back. There's rumors that No Time to Die is actually going to get pushed back as well. But that's in April. Yes. So there's really no time for James Bond ever. So let's cross our fingers that people start wearing masks or something.
They can just drop vaccines off, like just dive bomb them through the sky, parachute them down to everybody. We'll take them ourselves.
Apparently you can go to Disneyland and it's like going to be turned into like some vaccination hub. Did you guys not see this?
No, I didn't see that.
I seen this on Facebook. I guess they're going to turn it into like a vaccination hub. Get your vaccination and Mickey.
I mean, they're not doing anything else in Disneyland except, sweeping. So they probably need to do something.
It's probably true. But yeah. Oh, well. Are we ready for our worst 5 this year?
Oh, wait. One more thing. Sorry. You forgot to announce that it's now Marvel Legends time. No?
I heard people are hating this.
Anyone get trolled by that? Anyone else watch that stuff?
I don't know.
No, I forgot.
Are you serious? You guys need to go on
the
Disney
new
Plus.
Disney Plus.
Marvel Legends. And there's a reason they didn't give any information out for this program, because all it is basically a YouTube cut of all the scenes of specific characters throughout all their films in one like chronological order. So you're not going to get any new content. You're just going to see something that's probably already on YouTube. Enjoy.
Yeah, I didn't know what to think of that when I first saw, links of it being shared on the page, I was like, okay, what is this? This is just a collection of what we already know. I don't. Okay, maybe.
Yeah. I've heard that they're like in the next few months or whatever, as far as like the new MCU movies are going to drop. They're going to start putting these out. They're called Marvel Legends, and I did hear that it was like recaps, but I didn't realize that it was just a YouTube string.
I mean, that's all it is. They're just basically like, there's the Wanda one, and they just cut out the scenes from Age of Ultron, and then Civil War, and they just have them all like back to back to back to back, and just where the character is, as they progress, and then where they end up at the end. And there's no like tie into anything. I think there might be like coming soon in WandaVision, maybe at the end, because the first two they put up are Wanda and Vision. So those are the first two. But there's no like payoff as to like, all right, man, this is where we're going. Check out this sneak peek. Nothing. It's just clips from the films, just put in chronological order. And it's I'm like, really, guys, did you really need to do this and list it as like a new show? I feel like there's a better way to do this, but it is what it is. So you have those to look forward to. They'll do it with every single character.
Yay. Or you could just watch the movies.
I will say this.
Speaking of which,
the one interesting thing, sorry, Alex, is listening to Elizabeth Olsen's accent change from like the first movie to like the last movie. That's probably the most interesting thing. How hard like Russian she is at the beginning, and then it's just like just a little teeny tiny bit.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Like I remember in Infinity War thinking, she's not trying that anymore. She's just like, I'm good. I'm with Vision. Nobody cares about my accent no more. I've become Americanized. So, But speaking of these, I did, not to promote Disney Movie Insider, but I forgot that I had, like almost 2,000 points to redeem. And I was like, let me check those rewards out. And they were way better than they were like 3 months ago. And I redeemed they actually had a bunch of posters. So I was like, let's see. They had the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that real colorful one. So I was like, ooh, let me do that one. And then what else did I do?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Go ahead,
Alex,
Ryan.
you freaking gave me that poster. You could have just kept it.
Oh, I didn't see the movie yet. I hadn't seen the movie yet.
That's why.
So I didn't know if I wanted it. Plus, I wasn't as crazy about, hoarding posters as I am now. But there's a point to why I got that. And then I got the Civil War poster because all the other ones now I'd either had or I didn't like the movie. Like I had did I have the Black Panther one? I think I have that somewhere. I have the Infinity War one, the Endgame one. Well, those were already sold out anyway, so it didn't matter. I actually did think about getting, because I like this one of Dark World. They had two different ones. I didn't like the one where everybody's in it. I just kind of like the one where it's like a little smoky and he's like just holding a hammer. I like that one. I was thinking about that one.
You don't like the copy-paste Iron Man 3 poster?
That might have been on there. I think that was on there. And no. Not wasting my points on that. My hard-earned points on all this Disney stuff I have over here. By the way, if Disney Plus or your Disney or your Wi-Fi ever goes out, I got your Disney Plus hookup right here. I got every Marvel and just about every Disney that is made on this little shelf I have over here.
Okay. Is there any more news?
I think we're good, man. Let's start complaining now.
All right, let's start complaining. Let's draft order this the same way. Who wants to go first?
Alex doesn't want to go first because Alex forgot about doing this assignment.
Wow.
but I can, if you want, you can do the format we did last week where it's you three, where like Clint, you go first, and then like you give your number 5, then Ryan, then Matt, and then Matt goes 4, back, and I'll just name a bunch I didn't like. before you guys even get to that.
All right.
So,
Excluding Alex, this is our top worst 5.
well, maybe I'll come back next week and give it a little bit more thorough thought.
Do you have a sheet of paper and a pen? Just start doodling now while we're talking. Just start writing them down.
Just start remembering the movies that we watched this year.
Think of what traumatized you the most.
Yeah, right.
Everything.
Let's start with number 5. I guess I'll go first. My number 5 was My Spy. Sorry, that was dumb.
I forgot.
Oh, that wasn't that bad.
I think everyone forgot about that. Even Dave Bautista somewhere going, didn't I do a movie like 3 years ago that just came out in 2020?
It was dumb.
I give that a 4 out of 10, and I forgot to even consider it for my worst list.
Well, I mean, I guess that's good for My Spy that it wasn't bad enough where you hated it. It was bad enough to be forgettable.
That might be the worst kind of movie though, because it's not worth even watching.
Yeah, it's true. I just thought it was just a huge waste of talent, like all around. Like it was just a huge waste of talent.
You said talent?
Yeah, talent. That
Okay.
poor little girl is going to be associated with this movie forever.
Well, aren't they going to make another one? Aren't we getting another My Spy?
Yes, we are.
Success, man. You got to print that money. Netflix, somebody giving that out.
Amazonians.
All right. So doing the My Worst list, there was like 3 movies that definitely stood out to me, which kind of was weird from the same thing last week. Then I had to figure out a way to get the last 2. And I think I kind of went the same way. So for number 5, these are going to be reasons for this. This is a film that everyone's hyped up for and did not deliver whatsoever for me. And we ripped on it for so long. And I probably didn't give it that low of a grade, but it sucked. And I'm probably never going to watch it again. I'm going to have to do my 5th worst film of this year was Mulan. Garbage. That's it, man. Absolute garbage. Didn't need to be made. And I understand what they were going for when they did it, but they messed it all up, man. You can't half-ass that when you do it. Go all in. Don't make up stuff. Don't throw that in there. If you want to be like straightforward, be straightforward, but don't add dumb stuff in there. That's all. And there's no redeeming aspect to it. None. Okay. I'm good.
Ryan?
My top 10 was a little bit skewed. I did it and then rearranged it, not based on quality, but how much I wanted to talk about it. So my number 5 wasn't my number 5 until I knew we were talking about it. But I absolutely hated I'm Thinking of Ending Things the more I thought about it.
Oh, wow.
I didn't like it when I watched it. And then by the end of the year, I was like, you know what? I've seen it on best lists, like best of 2020 lists, and a year with some actually good movies. And I thought it wasn't even worthy of being called a movie. It's some loose thematic arcs held together by occasional acting and some production design that doesn't make any sense in any narrative or literal context.
Is that the film that you were talking about last week that was on people's best list that you
yes on? Yes, content just made nonsense and people loved it. Critics liked it, audiences seemed a little mixed but still on the positive side, and I saw it on one worst list and I was like, yep, I'm justified.
I've got it on my dishonorable mentions list. So I mean,
okay.
I was very disappointed with what I saw. I didn't finish it, so maybe it was redeeming. I'm never going to find out though. I don't want to.
It gets so much freaking worse. It ends with with him on a stage at a high school with old age makeup singing Judd's theme from Oklahoma, and then the audience is all in old age makeup, and then the movie ends.
I think you just sold it to me, man. I got to load this up right now.
Because that's
I like thinking of movies, but I don't like thinking that hard.
That's how life ends, Ryan. On the stage of Oklahoma.
Yeah, old age makeup. Yeah, and old age makeup.
Back in high school.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, what was your number 4?
Oh yeah, I get to again. Forgot. No, yeah, I did remember. My number four. My number four was the one that made it because of just how bad it was. It wasn't really one I wanted to talk about. I probably won't talk about it that much. The New Grudge was one of the last films I watched in 2020. Finally caught up with it. It was worse than it was just as bad as everyone said, which came out last January. So I spent like 11 and a half months putting this movie off. It's really bad. It's really boring. It's got great actors pulling in terrible performances, but it does maybe one of the most questionable decisions I saw in any movie this year. They do it's out of order narrative structure, and they hold every scary climax until all in one big scene right at the finale. So you have a solid hour, 15 minutes of nothing. Everyone dies, cliffhanger. I didn't already know that because the whole thing's an investigation on how these people died.
I don't share the hate. Like I'm gonna go with my fourth, and my fourth is kind of what I did last week. I wanted to pick a horror movie since that's one of my favorite genres. That was probably the worst horror movie, and that was on the list of things that I was going to consider. I had The Grudge, I had Brahms the Boy, I had. I mean, these are movies and those were the two that I didn't go with. And, you know, people hated on Antebellum and they hated on Fantasy Island too. I actually kind of thought they were entertaining. The thing with horror movies is I can't say they're bad if I feel like they're entertaining. And by entertaining, I don't mean that it's a good film. I mean that I feel like parts of it are creative and I feel like I understand where they're going for because it's a horror movie. You're not going to get like an auteur going in there making the best thing of all time. So I had to pick the horror movie that I felt was my worthless, like the worst piece of time that I wasted in a film in the theater. And I did watch this in the theater this year, so that might give it away. And it also doesn't help. There was a better version of this film that ended up on Netflix. So my number four, this worst film of the year and the worst horror movie for me this year is The Turning. And that's because it was absolute garbage. It was boring. The ending is horrible. It doesn't make any sense. If you want to watch Turning of the Screw, go watch Haunting of Bly Manor. That's all I got to say. Done.
You mentioned it a couple weeks ago, and I got like 20 minutes in.
Horrible. Okay, so my number four, I cheated again this year, or this time. My number four
The
was
Mandalorian.
Space Force. Space Force. That was dumb.
Yeah.
That was dumb.
Oh, boo. But Lisa Kudrow. She gave it her all, man.
All in that jail cell. All of it.
She should have got an Emmy for that, or at least a Golden Globe, something.
Yeah, that conjugal visit, you know? Yeah.
That was her Golden Globe, was that conjugal visit. No, it was just I think the hype around it was a little too much, and I think that maybe my expectations of it were a little too high. I did like John Malkovich and I did like Steve Carell at points, but the show just kind of was a little weird and a little oddly put together. I just didn't really care for it. So now my number three was Mulan. I'm with you, Matt. Like, this was just I had to put it higher than you because my 8-year-old spent 30 minutes watching this movie and dipped out.
You just hold a grudge with it, man. You're like, really? You're not gonna.
Not only was it horrible, I lost $30.
That's right. Nobody understood what Jet Li was saying. There was just
I'm
like,
never
talking about.
I am never. I mean, if you're gonna hit guys with like what was those things? Those flags or whatever? Why can't you get out of some like ropes? Like, seriously. I mean, I think the cinematography was fine, but other than that, it was just like, no. So that was my number three.
All right. All right. So now we get into like my top three. And I feel like there's going to be a trend, or there's like a genre that just blends into these three. And I guess that goes into just me feeling that movies are bad or boring or both or disappointing. And my number 3 film that I thought was the worst this year was a remake of a film that Ryan hates, but he also hates the remake. So my number 3 film is The Witches, because I love the cheesiness of the original Witches. I think it's great. I didn't think they could mess up a remake. They could mess up a remake, and they messed up the remake very, very easily. God bless Anne Hathaway. I mean, she tries to give it her all. She tries to ham it up, but the character design, the CGI, the story, it just doesn't give off any creepiness for me that I felt from the first movie. Now, that could also be the fact that I was, 10 when I watched the first movie. So that might have been why it's creepy, and maybe that's why this one didn't translate. But I just thought it was just too over the top, which is, I guess it's bad to say, but it was just too much and just not enough of what makes the original good. And it didn't really add anything. It tried to add stuff, but it just didn't work for me. Complete disappointment. Horrible. Don't have anything really good to say about it. So number 3, The Witches. Sorry, Zemeckis.
So yeah, I'll talk about The Witches later. It's not higher on my list. It was in my honorable mentions because I didn't like the original, so I didn't feel like hating on the new one. No, so my number 3 is the one we definitely haven't talked about. It's this little film called Mulan. I don't know if you guys saw it.
We didn't plan this, by the way.
I had it at the same ranking. I thought it was a total waste of time, and I didn't even pay $30 to see it. It's hard to describe because it's not one of those movies that's like you can pop it on, watch a scene of it, and it looks terrible. But it is really, really bad for so many reasons. And even some of the things in it, where it's like, let's throw all these pretty colors in the scenery. And I'm like, oh, so is this little town like really rich and indigo dyes for some reason? Lots of just little flaws throughout every choice in that movie. It's just so bad. My question. Good.
I was just going to say, the question is, would we think so poorly of this film if it wasn't a remake or wasn't made by Disney, who was live action remake their animated version?
I'm glad you asked. That might be that might be the worst thing about it, because it tries really hard to reference the original. It's like, instead of singing, we're gonna talk our way through the song where we're all talking about our dream girls. That's a really bad way to write a scene, is to just take the lines from the song and have characters say it. Or we're going to borrow Harry Gregson Williams' score and just use music cues from the original, which are completely meaningless if you write original themes for the movie. It just doesn't mean anything. And if people haven't seen the original, then they're just like, oh, this is a weird piece of music for this scene, because they have it. And I don't know how you can take it's. I think you're right, Matt. I think as it,
Go for it, Ryan.
His mouth is falling down the stairs.
Ryan's broke, everyone.
So Mulan is not great. It's fine. It's not even like one of the top 10 90s Disney movies, but it's fine. Ooh. It's very entertaining. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Shots fired.
I'd say maybe like top 5 or top 3.
We watched it again after the new one, and I loved it because of the new one. So, and I don't know how you can take probably Disney's worst villain and do worse.
That's true.
They tried to add 2 villains, and then they're like, just kidding, this lady's not a villain.
It doesn't make sense.
Girl power.
She's misunderstood.
And I mean, she can shapeshift into the Emperor.
And birds.
I'm the Emperor.
Yeah, she wants this, and she wants the Emperor to yield to Boycon, so that she can get a piece of land. I don't even remember. She could just turn into the Emperor.
True.
She turns into his advisor and walks into his court. Presumably, it's just as easy to do the other. It's really bad. But yeah, Matt, you make a good point. This would not be terrible if it weren't a remake, but the movie constantly reminds you that it's a remake.
True that. They're like, we don't want this to be a remake, but we're going to remind you that it is over and over again. We're getting rid of the dragon because we want this to be original, but it's not original. Because listen to this. Listen to these dialogues and these tones from the music. Listen to it. It's going to be reminiscent. And
I like.
Who looks
Harry
kind of like the
Williams.
dragon.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I like that composer, and I got about halfway through that score and turns it on and couldn't finish it. All right, so my number 2, it was a real toss up. What was going to be my worst of the year? Because I suffered through this one in theaters, but it just wasn't as painful as my number 1. So Dolittle was absolutely my second worst of the year. Up until like a month and a half ago when I finally swapped it out for number 2. I don't remember if you guys saw Dolittle.
I had never seen it.
I think
No,
maybe because of you
I
guys.
think I saw Dolittle.
No, I remember walking into the theater to tend to somebody, and like, you know, you kind of casually see a clip or a scene, and what, like, I'm gonna say like 2% interest I had in the movie like died instantly. I don't even remember what scene it was. I was like, I'm not even gonna waste my time with this. This just looks stupid.
Yeah, it is. It was bafflingly bad, which I mean, for a January release didn't surprise me at all. But bad CGI, formulaic plot that doesn't make sense, mustache twirling villains throughout the whole movie that don't matter, a really bad Welsh accent from Robert Downey Jr. And to cap it all off, it does end in a finale where he performs a colonoscopy on a dragon, and then it farts on him for a good 15 seconds.
You know who they should have got to play Dolittle? Pierce Brosnan. Welsh.
Yeah. Well,
we want that off bid.
Yeah. We want to remember that he's Welsh, right? Right, Alex?
Okay, if he says so.
But yeah, I would say for anybody who missed it, it's definitely worth missing.
Oh, I missed it because of you guys, so that's why.
All right, so I have a feeling, at least with Ryan, we might be similar with our picks. My top 2, it came to, I had to decide which I thought was worse, and the way I decided this was which one was the least fun to watch. And by that I mean, at least with one of these, I can laugh at and make fun of, while the other one pains me to no end. And so for my number 2, I'm actually going to go with what Ryan just said in Dolittle, because I had no joy in watching this movie. I'm like, it's a kid's movie. It'll be fun. It'll be entertaining. No, it's boring. The CGI was bad. The story was bad. It's god awful. What is Robert Downey Jr. doing? He's definitely has to have better options than this. Like, is he making it for his children? I don't know if he has kids, but whatever. I couldn't stand it. I did not like it. So I said these backwards, by the way, but you turn, Clint.
My number 2, I'm probably going to be in the minority with this. My number 2 was actually One Burr. I didn't.
Oh,
come
man.
on! I don't share the hate that you guys do for it. Like,
I
respect certain things about that film. The totality of it, maybe not so much, but I would not hate it as much as you guys do.
I didn't like what. Okay, what I had to, whatever. I can't even explain like my frustration with this movie. Like, I got all the way there, and then she like, whatever. Anyway,
I'm with you. It's like a really bad shot. It's quick and it's over, but you think about it for the next couple of days because your arm keeps hurting, and you just want nothing to do with it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
It was an honorable mention in my top 10, and I just didn't feel like talking about it, so I put it at the bottom of my honorable mentions.
Wow.
Like at number 16 or 15.
Yeah, like I can't even describe like the feelings I had after I watched that movie.
It just they blew their twists so early and do nothing for the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they have a super bigger twist, Ryan, at the end, where the whole neighborhood is a cult.
Which they did in The Invitation a couple years ago.
Which they did a way better job of, by the way. Like I watched that movie even after I watched One Burr, and I was like, this is way better. So my number 1, and I'm sure that it's probably a couple number 1s.
I'll say it at the same time.
To be fair, guys, I said mine out of order. This is actually my number 2, if it's what I think. Dolittle was actually my number 1 because it was so boring. I enjoy making fun of this movie. So you can say what your number one is, Clint.
Artemis Fowl.
Yep.
Fun story. That's my number two, guys. Only because I actually like making fun of it. That is it. I get a little bit of joy.
Oh.
Wait, is that your number one too, Ryan?
Yes, absolutely. see, Matt, I was with you about that. Like, the more I enjoy talking about it, the less I like it. And then I had to watch Cats last year, and I was like, no, screw it. Number one is number one.
Yeah, man. This movie was so bad. It was so bad.
So bad.
So bad.
Yeah.
Poor Colin Farrell.
If you need to see what we think about it, just go back about 4 months.
Right.
Production meeting number. I don't remember what number it was.
I can't remember what number it was.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
what happened in
that was
movie.
before I did thumbnails, so it's gonna be hard to look through each of one of them.
Yeah. Probably gonna have to go rename these
All right,
videos now.
so we're gonna try to think of the positive things about Artemis Fowl right now.
Only 90 minutes.
Okay,
Colin Farrell.
That's good.
The poster for it was kind of cool. That's about it.
The opening shot.
Judi Dench is better than this than she is in Cats.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, Cats is gonna make a comeback. I'm calling it. It's gonna be a cult classic in like 10 years, and no one's gonna remember Artemis Fowl.
Memories.
No one.
Nice.
Yeah, but between everyone's poor accent, the plot of the film, the CGI of the film, the casting of the film, just the editing of the film, the Josh Gad's voice in the film, yeah, just absolute mess, absolute garbage. I think it's good for them that they had to release it on Disney Plus, because God help us had they taken that bomb in the theater.
Right. We'd all been screwed. All right. So I'm going to share my dishonorable mentions. Sorry, Maddie, but Devil All the Time. That was one.
It's okay, man. I have 4 tastes. It's fine.
An American Pickle.
Oh, God.
Eurovision.
I thought of that one. I thought of putting that somewhere in my list that I've been conjuring up. But I was like, this is one where I feel kind of like Matt. Like, did I have fun watching it at some point? Yeah, I actually did. So there was some merriment to be had at some point. Is it a good movie? Oh, no, absolutely not. But did I get some type of, like, not axe to the head kind of feeling? Oh, yeah. There were some stupid kind of parts, and the songs in it were pretty good. So I can't put that.
This is definitely why it's on a dishonorable mention. Like, it's not in my top 5, but it wasn't on the best list.
I'll let American Pickle slide just because the whole movie sucks. But combined, but that first 25-30 minutes I thought was very entertaining and very interesting. Right. And then they got into the rest of the plot and it was bad. Yeah. So
this is one that we watched like in one of our first videos, like I think in some of July, we did a double feature for this. Kissing Booth 2.
Don't kick it while it's down, man. Don't stop it. Stop. Whatever, man. Worst film of the year. We're getting a sequel within the next 12 months. So whatever.
Yay.
Yay.
I can't wait. The Vast of Night. That was just, I've seen this like Ryan, I'm thinking of anything. I've seen this on a few top 10 lists.
Best, yeah.
It was so weird. It was just so bizarre.
I was hoping I was going to be the only one who mentioned that on their list. Dang it! I was hoping I was going to bring that out of the closet.
I feel like it's one of those movies, and I don't know if I was distracted when I watch it, and I don't know how you guys watch it, because I never finished it. I got about halfway through, and I'm like, this is just super boring to me right now. But I think I was on my phone. I was doing that, and I don't know. There's got to be a reason it's in people's top 10 list. There's got to be some entertaining aspect to it.
It's those lists made by the people who didn't care about all the fun movies that came out. They had to pick on Tenet and all the other ones that people can actually like, but
Or
they
they
didn't
only
have
watched
any of
10
their Oscar
movies.
slate.
Gotcha.
Well, I remembering the movie, I think the cinematography was done well. Like there is a few like long shots or like long running shots. Like the movie that we're going to talk about later. There are a few of them in there that it's like a continuous scene. But other than that, I think it was just weird. Like, still, what's with the baby? Like, why are we taking the baby everywhere we go?
Oh, let me take this baby from this safe house into this field where this UFO is because that's so much safer.
I mean, she sounds more responsible than that film we watched like 4 weeks ago, where she just leaves the baby in the basement of the cabin.
I thought we had switched to talking about that for half a second.
Hey, what was that movie called? I was going to say Pieces of Woman, but
I Am Your Woman.
I Am Your Woman.
I knew it had woman in the title.
Project Power. I couldn't get on board. Sorry.
I didn't hate that, but it's not good.
No. And Antebellum. I wasn't a fan. That's my list.
All right. I've got a few things on here that actually the only one that I think that we've talked about already where I'm thinking of ending things, and I did actually have Kissing Booth 2 on here. Although that's also fun to make fun of, and I can't wait to make fun of the third one when that comes out.
Thanks, Netflix.
Yeah, thanks. My first dishonorable mention on here is Superintelligence, just because of the voice of the AI mainly. I'm not even going to say
James
his name.
Corden saying that he's James Corden, and hey
Yeah,
guys, I'm celebrity voice narrator James Corden.
It's hilarious. He's hilarious every time he talks and does his talk show, and it's not condescending or funny at all. All right, my next one is, and this is probably my most like. There's only a couple on here, but Capone. I don't know if anybody saw Capone. Tom Hardy's a little over the top, and the ending of it is kind of ridiculous, and it's all fictitious anyway. But still, I'm just like, why is this a thing? Why does this movie exist? Tom, what are you doing, man? Like, I get it, but at the same time, you could have done something better with your time and not look ridiculous. Right. And then I've got Downhill, which is a remake just for America film, like just for Americans that didn't need to happen. Just dub over the other one if you wanted to. We're trying to add Will Ferrell just to make it funny, but funnier than like the darkness of the other one.
That sucks.
Which is a total miss. Like, I think if you thought this one would suck, I don't know if you would like the other one, but if you like the other one, I think you would think this one would suck regardless. I don't think anyone's going to like this one and then not like the original, if that makes any sense.
Is this a remake of Force Majeure?
Force Majeure, yeah.
Okay.
And then my last one on here, dishonorable mention, just because I want to say it, and I didn't want to put it on my list. Wonder Woman 84. I talked about it 2 weeks ago, so that's all I've got to say.
It's down to a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, that's good. If it was a Disney film, I'm sure it would still be hovering around 62 or 63. But they don't have the backing at Warner Brothers, so sorry.
All because of you, Alex.
Hi.
All right. I'm just gonna go through like my entire list, but I'll be quick about the ones that don't count because I had a big list. I had the top 10 and honorable mentions. I'm just gonna go through the whole thing from least to greatest, so all the way up to number 6,
cool.
And just skip through them. 1BR, and Matt, Fantasy Island. Not bad, but really killed itself with that last twist. Doesn't make any sense.
I was talking to Jeannie about it because we were going through like these films, and it was hard for us. It's hard for me to hate on a horror movie. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm married to her and I've had to watch so many bad ones that I've just become adjusted to them, and that I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'll be sort of entertained by this. But I think I've called it the Michael Pena effect. Like, I really can't hate any movie this dude's in. Like, even though he's really not funny in this movie. I'm just like, I'm not gonna hate it, man. You're okay. It's a good film just because he's in it. But yeah, I understand. I have no qualms with that, sir.
Yeah, I had to include some pre-COVID movies on here because all the rest are just not. Yeah, Project Power. Superpower is like a shrimp. Great.
Yeah.
Super Intelligence. Everyone liked Hubie Halloween more than me, but I did not like Hubie Halloween at all. And Mortal Kombat versus Predator with Nicolas Cage, or Jiu-Jitsu, which I still highly recommend everybody watch. It's the best movie of 2020. I guarantee it. It's a really good time. It's just such a waste of a good stunt team. So my actual honorable mentions, the remake of Rebecca was like the most lifeless thing I saw this year. I hated all 4 hours of it. And the more I thought about it, the more I just hated that it existed. To me, it was like Mulan. I'm like, why are we doing this? Why are we remaking this? I did not understand why it needed to happen at all, let alone so much worse. The Witches, really bad. I didn't like the original, so I didn't want to put it any higher, but it was really bad. Megan Fox fights a lion, or Rogue.
Oh yeah,
that was. I try not to put indie films really high on my list because nobody watches them, but that film was one of those so bad it's good watches for sure.
I didn't even watch it, and I'm agreeing with you.
Scoob, I hated Scoob. Let's just take a Scooby-Doo movie and make it not a Scooby-Doo movie, and use none of the cast.
Oh, come on, man. You have to have some love for those Hanna-Barbera references
I
scattered
don't.
throughout
I have
and
none.
directly in your face.
I have no love for it at
Wow.
all. I
Wow.
would have given Scoob all the points back if at the end it was actually Simon Cowell and he was just mad. It was I don't know if you guys saw it. Spoilers if you didn't. But there's like this little twist where they like unmask the bad guy and it's Simon Cowell.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's funny. And then they do it again and it's the bad guy again. And I was like, nope, still stupid. And then probably maybe the worst made movie I saw this year, but it was one I saw in theaters. Hopefully nobody saw it. A movie called Infidel by Dinesh D'Souza.
Dang it, Ryan! I was hoping I would just mention that first.
Just a propaganda piece. Just a racist propaganda piece.
Wow.
I've coming hard, man.
I've seen Dinesh D'Souza speak in person several times, because I went to a school that was like, let's have this guy speak because he doesn't believe the Clintons are single-handedly responsible for the KKK's creation. But maybe let him produce a movie. It was really bad. It's really badly made.
Dang.
Awesome.
I would have put it higher, but I didn't want to talk about it. And I was like, oh, well, let's hate on Charlie Kaufman instead.
There you go.
There you go. All right, Alex, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I was able to put some together. A lot of it's kind of what you guys have already said because like I forgot about some of this stuff and then I was like, oh, you know what? Let me throw that down. Not that that's entertaining at all, but I'll just, mow through these real quick. Clint reminded me, like in no particular order, the dishonorable mentions. I'm just going to breeze through them. Space Force. Yeah, that had like one, maybe two like funny episodes. I do like the combination of Steve Carell and John Malkovich. It's good. I like it. It's good enough where I want to see what would happen. Like this, I kind of do the thing where I think about the first season of Office wasn't that great. Really, the first two seasons of Office weren't the best. So you can go from being pretty mediocre to pretty much everybody loves it in the span of a couple seasons. So I have hope for that, but something's got to happen. I remember this is not like a bad movie, but it is so forgettable. Bloodshot. I saw that in theaters. That was like one of the last movies I saw before COVID had ensued. Yeah. Vin Diesel's fine. Just that story is like absolutely like I left thinking I don't even remember what I watched. Like that's just how dull it was. So
Alex, I saw that on a couple worse lists.
Yeah, it's good enough where I consider like having it in my collection for $1, but I really wouldn't watch it. Like, not because it's terrible, just because it's so forgettable. Like, it's so bland. Yeah. And then who's the bad guy in that? Is not Guy Ritchie.
Guy Pearce. Wait.
Guy Pearce. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's an okay villain. Just not just, it's just so bland. It's like I'm giving it more attention than it deserves. Clint, you mentioned American Pickle. Yeah, that's on my list. That was dumb. I knew it was going to be dumb before I even watched it, so just confirmed my distaste for it. Ryan, I agree with you on Fantasy Island. That's not a terrible movie, but the ending is really, really stupid, and it ruins what little it had established as far as a horror film goes. And then I kind of agree with Matt. It's like, it's hard to hate Michael Pena in this, but despite him being in this, you really hate that you invested your time just to get that kind of ending. So not good at all. Vampires versus the Bronx. Like, I want to give this, like,
really,
this is a decent like start for whoever directed it. I think this was his directorial debut, and like, it's a decent start for him, but in objectively speaking, as a film, it's not really that great at all. There are good parts. I remember uttering the phrase, I'm pretty sure during this review, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And Ryan had no idea what that phrase was. And I still think that about this movie. Like, there's good parts of it, but as a whole, it's not really that good.
Like, how would you forget? Like,
it's a phrase, man.
Like, what?
Oh man, there's a baby. How many times did that happen to necessitate?
Wait, are we talking about the movie already?
No, not yet. Oh, geez.
How that saying came into being, where somebody was like, "Oh,
wow, man, that's dark humor at its best." But anyway,
such a good segue.
So I threw it in just because I don't remember the fond memories of it. Trolls 2, that was so hyped, and it was so bland. I've been told that the first one, I've never seen the first one because I just didn't care. But people that I know said that the first one was so much better than this one. Like, there's okay songs, but the story is like dumb. Like, it's so bland, and like, yeah, I mean, I know Universal and them's like, hey, we disagree with you. Like, look at all this money we made. Yeah, because that was the biggest thing. That was the only thing that people had to stream then. So no wonder you got somewhat of a cash cow. But yeah, I remember thinking, this is dumb. Oh, I don't know. Was this at the beginning of this year or the end of last year? But The Hunt.
This year, March.
This year.
Okay, I'm throwing that in there because that I just randomly thought of that. That movie sucked. I'm sorry. If you guys liked it, that's cool. But I thought that was just so dumb.
We will agree to disagree, Alex.
It's okay, man.
It's all right.
What makes us diverse and unique. Downhill, I will agree with you there. That sucked. I knew going into that was going to be terrible, but it was like the only thing that we hadn't seen that we could make at that time. Like, I think it was like an 8:30 show, and we were running late, so we're like, let's just go see that. That was a mistake. Scoob also, Ryan, yes, hit the nail on the head. Like, it is so much of a bland Scooby-Doo movie. Like, I just don't think it has any heart in it. Like, I like the Hanna-Barbera stuff. Like, I agree with you guys. That's where me being a little older than Ryan, I guess, pays off. Like, because I like the whole Captain Caveman thing. That's pretty cool. And I like even the main villain himself. Like, while not the best, is, you know, a call to those cartoons. So like, it's good in those regards, but otherwise it's no. We somehow got like some type of, I think we just used credit that we had through Voodoo or whatever we used to get it. And I'm just so glad that we didn't. I think we collectively like gave a little bit to it, but I'm so glad we didn't pay like a whole $20 for that. Yeah, that would have been terrible. What else? Last dishonorable mention. Again, this was in no particular order, but I just, Unhinged was not, It's an hour and a half or however long it was of Russell Crowe doing his best John Goodman impression, and I'm like, okay. I mean, this might be on some people's best list, maybe. I think this is a kind of middle of the road. I don't think anybody cares. This is forgettable. I don't think it's that bad, but it's definitely not good. All right, but I'm going to my top 5, my not top 5, as it were. Number 5. You guys beat me. There's nothing new on this list, so everything has been mentioned here. So my number 5 was Vast of Night. At first, I couldn't remember it until Clinton had said it. I just remembered it as that Twilight Zone themed show or movie. And like, I had really high hopes for this. And then it became so boring and so like
Boring.
I'm just nodding off. I'm like, this is so dumb. And the payoff, there was no payoff. So absolutely, I would never recommend that movie. Because it was so disappointing, and I just my number 4, Mulan. Yeah, that's pretty much unanimous. Mulan is not good. Like I was on the fence of, is it a good remake? Is it a bad remake? It was just standing perfectly there, and then I just thought more and more and more about it, and I'm just like, no. The first half hour is stupid. The last half hour is stupid. I kind of enjoyed the middle part with the whole military camp part. I mean, some of that's enjoyable, but ultimately it's not good and it's really stupid, and it's not even a true remake like in any shape. It's really just it's just got the name, because it doesn't have any songs. It has some musical cues to the original show or movie, as we all mentioned. And there's no Mushu, but they kind of have this like magic phoenix that's kind of like Mushu, and I'm like, why didn't you just do Mushu? And it's just trying to be different and stupid at the same time. My number 3, Ryan had mentioned it, Infidel. I thought this was bad when I left, and then I thought about it even more, and I hated this movie. Jim Caviezel, good guy, terrible movie. I just hated this. And the worst part, he's not even the worst part about it. I remember the worst part about this movie was the woman who played his wife. So lifeless as an actress and not believable whatsoever in anything she says. So bad. Oh, man. I'm so glad that I did not pay to go see that, even though I got to see it in the theater. My number 2 is Wonder Woman 1984. This was bad. I didn't think it was bad. And then my good friend Matt brought some reality into my life and made me think about how stupid this was. You know, I think this would be number 2 because this was supposed to be like Warner Brothers, DC's kind of like child. Like they knocked it out of the park. I don't think so with the first one. And like they were supposed to take care of this. Like they were supposed to make this the continuation that like just continues to get better. Like wine, better with age. Keep going with it. No, this is a big pile of crap that we keep seeing the same thing. Bad effects right at the forefront of these movies. Bad, just the CGI is just. I don't know why they can't get it right. I don't know why I'm also just. I didn't even think it was that bad, and then I just started thinking about it. This is a bad movie. This is a good movie if you don't think about it. If you're gonna nitpick about it, oh my gosh, it's one of the worst movies easily this year. And then okay, what's up, Ryan?
I just bumped my rating down just for you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, see, yeah. That's exactly when we rated it or when we reviewed it with Matt. I was like, he made such great points, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm giving it a 5.9 just so Rotten Tomatoes can't have a like. But it's getting even rotten. Like I'm easily a 5 or lower now on that movie. Okay, but number 1 for me is kind of interesting. It's actually like a 3-way tie. Artemis Fowl obviously has got to be on there. That was an atrocious movie. Don't know what was going on. The effects were weird. The story was dumb. Josh Gad. What is that? Dame Judi Dench.
narration.
What?
He's doing it. Yeah.
I'm Olaf.
I'm Jet Li.
I'm the Emperor. Yeah, just nothing good at that. No, I don't. It was so bad. I didn't even finish it. I said I refuse to finish it. When we review it, somebody just tell me what happens. Like I didn't watch the last 20 minutes.
I forgot about that.
I don't know what happens.
I forgot about it until I just started ranting about it. Yeah, 20. No, this movie is terrible. The next one in the top number one, the three-way tie. I didn't think about it until you guys, a couple people had mentioned it. One BR, Matt. I'm sorry. I got to throw it on there. This movie was terrible.
Nah,
sorry. It was so bad. It was so dumb. Like, I thought for the first 10 to 15 minutes, okay, this has got some potential. And then it went like so dumb. It's cold, it's stupid. They burned a cat for no reason. They cooked a cat for no reason. They're like, hey, you weren't supposed to have cats here. And then this poor little innocent creature gets cooked. And then they never mention it again.
Yeah, you know how many cats they went through filming that scene?
Like Milo and Otis.
Yeah.
Oh man. And yeah, like even the twist that like she's in like it's like Inception. She's in a society that's within a bigger society, and like, okay, I don't get it. So the movie was so dumb. And then to finish off my top three, the worst at number one, I Am Your Woman. That woman, that was a bad one. I feel bad from this before I go into why that was so bad. I look at this list and I'm like, I sound sexist almost because I have Mulan, I Am Your Woman, Wonder Woman in here, and I'm just like,
I was waiting for you to say Palm Springs, and then be like, man, that's Best Picture nominated, possibly.
I hope so.
I didn't like that at all. No, that was a fumble. I mean, okay, no, it wasn't horrible, but it was not good. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was good. Like, I don't even remember a lot of it, to be honest with you.
Alex, that was my number 11 of the year.
Oh man, it should have been 111.
I like the film. I just don't like the female character lead and the actress, and that kind of ruins it for me. So
I totally forgot we
personal
watched
preference.
That. But yeah, I Am Your Woman. I know you guys, a couple of you guys were like, okay, this was good. Like there's some key elements in here that was, yeah. I'm like, no. So dull. And I didn't care for the story. Like I know that the big payoff, the second half, the second act, whatever, is better, and it goes somewhere. I don't know, but this was. I was an hour into it, and I was tagging out, man. I was tagging out. I can't do this anymore. Yeah, I did not. So I mean that probably is my number one worst movie because I only got halfway through. At least Artemis Fowl, I got to like the last 20 minutes before I just was like, I can't. So that's my.
Are you telling me that
movies.
You tapped out for I Am Your Woman, but you didn't tap out for Pieces of Woman?
No.
Is that a segue?
I mean, it can be. It can be. I have interesting thoughts about that. All right, so I guess we're getting right into it.
Yeah, give the synopsis, Clint.
All right. Yeah, go ahead, Clint. Tell them what we're doing.
Yeah.
So. All right. So the movie that we reviewed this week is Pieces of Woman, starring Vanessa Kirby and Shia LaBeouf, which we've seen a little too much of Shia, by the way. Yeah, don't remind me. So this tragedy happens during a home birth. Vanessa. So I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, Mickey was talking to me. Tragedy happens with the home birth. So it's about Vanessa Kirby trying to get over the death of her child. So what did we think?
All right, Alex? I'm going first on this one. One, because the segue was so beautiful, but Two, I also text you all you guys, and I was like, I'm going first on this because I have interesting thoughts. I left my notes somewhere else on this movie. I want to say first that the performances, I think, were awesome. I don't know how Matt's going to feel about this, but I sat through this movie thinking Matt's going to think this is out of the park because the performances I thought were super good. Like Vanessa Kirby and Shia LaBeouf and everybody else involved were very believable. All the situations and all the scenarios were real. It felt like it was genuinely real to me. Like it mimicked real life very well because it's so uncomfortable. And I mean, this happens more than, we'd like to say it is. But things like this happen, and the aftermath in which, occurs also happens in similar fashion sometimes, and it sucks, but it's the truth that it happens. And they were very believable in their dialogue exchanges. And then the cinematography was pretty good in this. Overall, like it felt like any other film, but I know there were two scenes. Okay, I do remember the second one. I was about to say I can't remember the second one. The first one I do remember is pretty much the opening scene in which they're going through her home birth. Like it's all taken from one camera angle, well, not one angle, but one camera that constantly moves, and the dramatic shift in that scene. It's so simple how the camera switches, but it's very effective. And I was like, this is really good. Like I know the scene is really uncomfortable.
Yes,
we see, yes, very uncomfortable. But with that being said, I thought the cinematography for it was actually really, really good. I was actually kind of like, why do I think that this is good? The other moment was, and I think it's purely the one shot angle where later Vanessa Kirby is jogging, but she stops and stands somewhere, and the way that, and it's snowing because it's in Boston, or it's in Massachusetts at least, and the snow is like hitting her, and it's something. It's like poetic and symbolic at the same time,
Yeah.
and I thought it was effective. I liked that shot. It just kind of stuck in my brain. And there's a little bit of monologuing in there. I mean, just one scene really, and it's good. I liked it. I don't know who played her mom. She's in other things that I've seen. I just never remember her name. But it was, yeah, she was okay. Like she was frustrating as a caring mother who kind of wants you to do a certain thing, like all parents do. They want the best for you, and they kind of almost force you to. So it was like effectively frustrating. Now here's the bad. The subject matter is horrendous. Like I don't want to see this kind of stuff. Like and Clint mentioned it before. We saw a little bit more of Mr. LaBeouf than I care to. That I'm good. I was like, this is making me super uncomfortable. I was close to being like, guys, I'm tapping out. I can't finish this movie. But I'm proud to say that I did finish it. I don't know what my rating is because as far as the subject matter goes, it's 1. I'm not going to come see a movie about like, this is suicidal type stuff. This is a Debbie Downer. I text you guys and I said, this is the king of Debbie Downers. Like nothing. I compared this to Last of Us Part 2 if it were a movie. Like obviously it's not the same story, but it's got the exact same feel. Like there's a lot of good elements to it, but that story is absolutely like not something that makes you feel good, and it's punishing you for watching it. So it's a 1 for subject matter. 10 for performances, and I'd say about a 7 for cinematography. I can't say that it's actually, and the pacing's actually, it gets a little slow at some parts, but it's overall segued okay, from scene to scene, so it's fine. I don't know if I can give an official score. I mean, I'll let you guys do with that what you will. Out of, you can maybe average that up if you want. I don't know.
Your average is a 6 exactly.
This is one of the best films that I would never ever recommend. I don't know how to explain that entirely, but that's how I feel, and that's my review.
All right, gentlemen.
This movie deals with some heavy subject matter. Yes.
Yes.
I feel personally that there is a great movie in here, but there are some things that I really didn't like, and I'd really kind of want to know if this was the entire screenplay. I feel like there's a lot more that wasn't done, that was cut, in essence, maybe of time. But that said, let me say the things that I really liked. Vanessa Kirby's performance, top notch, not a problem. It was great. I'm sad. On the other side of that, I'm a little upset we didn't actually get more of her. Like, I feel like there was a lot taken away from her. The beginning of the film, that first, it's almost, I think it might be actually almost exactly 30 minutes that, dare I say, the 1917 of miscarriage scene there at the beginning, where it's just one long take. I don't know if it was any cuts. I tried to look to see if I could see any. I don't think there were. And the way that they took the camera off things where they set other parts of the scene up made me think that it was one long take. So that was amazing, and that was good. I enjoyed that. The cinematography I thought was really good. I enjoyed the colors of the scenes. I enjoyed how everything was set up, how the camera followed everyone around. I thought that was good. Now things I didn't like, and if I think of something else that I do like, I'll say it again. I was not a huge fan of Shia LaBeouf personally. And I don't know if that's because I'm struggling to think if he's a good actor or not, because every time I see Shia LaBeouf, I feel like he plays Shia LaBeouf. Like, I don't feel like there's a different character. Like, I feel like that's just him. I watched him. I enjoyed him in the Peanut Butter Falcon. I thought that was good.
That's what I was going to say.
But this, I didn't get it. Like, he didn't take me away. Like, I did not see Shia LaBeouf. Ellen Bernstein was great. I thought her character at the beginning was good. And she has this speech that's like towards the last 2/3 of the film, towards almost the last third of the film, that I feel like it's during the scene where they're all at her house and they're all together, and it's supposed to be this big there's almost a climax kind of building, like a slow, like underneath climax. And then she has this speech, and I really hate the fact that scene almost looks like they're trying to do the whole one take thing or one shot thing, going around filming everybody. But then when it comes to her part to be emotional, I guess maybe they had to retake it because they cut to her saying the speech. And I'm like, oh, that sucks that they couldn't get that in that one take. But then again, I kind of want to see more of this plot. And I really wasn't a huge fan of that speech, as opposed, like, she delivered it well, but I think in the context of the film, I really didn't think it worked. And I just didn't get it. I think the movie itself gets lost. You have that big scene with this lady having a miscarriage, and then, the trials and tribulations of them as a couple, but I don't think we get enough. And I think it skips around too much, where you don't see enough of what they're going through. And maybe that's the way it's set up. I mean, you just see snippets, it takes it 1 month at a time, and it goes, you get every month, you get like a new scene. This is where they're at. This is what it's at. But I feel like the main focus should have been on Kirby's character and not everyone else. I didn't really need to see Shia LaBeouf like handle it, because I don't want to get into spoilers right now, but what happens to his character, I mean, it doesn't really, it factors in, but it's not a huge deal because of what happens at the end of the movie. but like I said, I think there's a lot of great aspects in here, but it's not a great film. It could have been a great film, and like I said, I think it would have been in that script. And I'm just curious, and I could be wrong. Maybe this is what she ended up with. Is it a fresh film? I don't know. The subject matter is heavy. Her performance in there is good, but overall, I'm not sure if it's like an amazing film. I'm stuck between giving it like a 5.5 and a 6. I'm right there at the line. I don't want to skew up to a 7 because I think there are issues with the film, but there are some really glimmers of amazing stuff in there. And I just wish, like I said, that I don't know, maybe they could have wrote some things a little differently. The subject matter doesn't even really bother. I mean, it bothers me, but it's not like something that I'm going to run away from. And not to say that, Alex would run away from it. I understand you want to do that, but women go through that stuff all the time. And I think if that's a subject matter in a movie, if somebody who's going through that, it might be okay for them to see it, just to know that other people do go through those things, and that, things could be worse and get better. So, but that's what I have to say about it. So yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. Just because after I talked about it, 6 out of 10 sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I just want to say to rebuttal to Matt. Like, I agree with. It sounds like we're in agreement with a good amount of this movie. And I also agree. Like, Shia LaBeouf. Like, while I liked him, some parts of his character are really good, but then a lot of them, like what ultimately happens to him, is just kind of like, okay, whatever. Why did that, like, what happened, like, okay. And then there's again, like you, I'll avoid spoilers until we all get our reviews in, but there's like one part that just like they just kind of throw that in there, I guess, for dramatic sake, and it just kind of like, really. But anyway, whoever goes next,
go ahead, Ryan.
I really like this movie. I really liked it. I was really surprised that I liked it because there were times where I had trouble watching it. Like I was watching it on a laptop, and at one point I just kind of turned it that way, turned it back, and I turned it back that way, and turned it back.
I watched it on my iPad,
so it was easy to just.
Yeah.
So I missed. So I didn't see all of Shia LaBeouf's performance. Matt, I'm with you. I get why they wouldn't want to go ahead and just do a 2.5-hour drama, but I also know that Manchester by the Sea from 4 years ago got a Best Picture nomination, and it's about 2.5 hours.
I was getting you say that, and I was getting like huge Manchester vibes from this.
Yeah,
actually, oddly enough. And
that film doesn't hold back. That's tough subject material. Yeah. It's dry. It's subtle. And it just goes for the longer runtime. And it's just really, really well for it. And this was a really compelling movie. Flaws and all, it was really compelling. But it does feel like there's a lot missing to it. It took me a little bit to warm into. So the quality of it, I thought, was fantastic. This was a really, really well shot movie. It took me 5-6 minutes into that oneer at the opening, and I was like, wow, this is actually really impressive filmmaking. And it does, Alex, you touched on this, it does like tonal building so well. So you get that last beat right at the end of that scene to transition to the opening title, really hits. And there's a lot of that in the film where sometimes it doesn't work quite as well. But there's a lot of those sequences that work so well because of the way it's shot, because of the way the set design's done, because of the way that it's written. The writing's really subtle. The performances are very subtle. Matt, I'm going to disagree with you. I mean, obviously, I would love to see more of the character. I spent most of the movie kind of wondering why Vanessa Kirby didn't have more acting till the end, and I was like, oh, this is a nuanced performance kind of piece. Because I agree that she could have been in it. It should have been a little more focused, which I think just adding more to it would have fixed that problem. But by the end, she's really great. Shia LaBeouf could have been anybody. He's fine. He's serviceable. Could have been anybody. He does. I will try not to give too much away. He does subtle scumbag really well. So that was probably a good casting choice because I kept wondering, I was like, I don't like this guy. Should I like this guy? No. So that was probably smart casting on their part. But it could have been anybody. But yeah, the only other thing that really took it away from me, there's a couple little logic gaps you got to take near the end. They're little things, but movie's got a movie.
Movie's got a movie.
You've got to have the big finale. And I'm like, I guess I can believe this would happen exactly like this, but it probably wouldn't. So I can overlook that. It did take it away from me a little bit when I was thinking about, like, this movie takes such a hard look at authenticity and how people behave and how emotions work, and as a character piece, it does such a good job pulling people back and bringing different elements of their life to focus. And you get like a really reserved performance from her early on, and you're almost to the point where you don't like the character, but you don't want to not like the character because you feel bad, but you're not seeing enough from her not to like her. And by the end, you understand that. But there's also these weird little moments where I'm like, oh, they went really heavy into this so they could yada yada this happening. I won't give too much away, but I thought it was really good. It's definitely my favorite film of 2021 so far. But it probably will be in that list for a while, I think. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the performances. It's hard to watch, but I always give respect for a movie that's really hard to watch. It's probably a little too much. Also, there are some slightly more conservative ways to make it hard to watch. And that kind of brings me back to Manchester by the Sea, where I'm like, Manchester by the Sea never makes me look away, but it's still really hard to watch. This film, I just completely turned the computer away for a solid like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, rough. I give it a solid 7 out of 10. I don't give halves, but I would love to give it a 7.5. So
here, Ryan, I'll do it for you. I give this an 8.
Okay.
I do agree with a lot of points that you guys have made. So that this, first of all, Benjamin Loeb is the cinematographer for this, and I think that he did a really good job. I do agree with you, Matt. I think that there is a script out there that has flesh to these characters, and I think that's what was missing for me, at least. It was like you guys, is there's no real like heart or like meat to these characters. You're just kind of like dropped into this situation, and you have to follow this situation until it resolves, and you kind of don't really understand like why they do the choices that they do until like they make those little subtle hints and stuff like that, like his sobriety and all this other stuff, and the reasons why they're together and all this other stuff. But yeah, I think that Vanessa Kirby was amazing. I think that she's going to be a name to watch. Like, I think that even after this performance, and like her performance in The Crown, I think that she's going to be a big name. So, did I like Shia LaBeouf in this movie? No, not really, but I think that was by design. And I think that you made it, made that point, Ryan, where he's like this scumbag, and I think that he does play scumbag pretty well. So, but then again, like you said, could he have been anybody? Probably. I think what brought it out for me is because and they do mention it in the movie where it's like, I just don't see these two together. You know what I mean? Like the casting, like I think that was maybe on purpose, and maybe that's like the point of it, but I just don't see the two of them together. And like that whole scene, there's that one whole scene where he tries to whatever. It's still, I think that was made it even more cringeworthy for me. But yeah, it's shot very well. The colors and the you can see her descent and like her coming back from it is really done very well. So I gave this an 8. And I can't wait to see what else she does later. So we want to talk spoilers or
spoilers.
I got one more thing I loved about the movie. Howard Shore's score. Drama scores never stand out to me. The music in this was really, really good. I listened to the whole thing earlier today. It's only like 40-minute score, but it's still really good music for what easily could have been a phoned-in drama. Let's play piano in the background.
Well, I was going to say it is a good score, but I almost think that it didn't need one. Like I almost wanted more quiet times. more reflective times with these characters. I'm like, why are you gonna waste this great score for this drama where I just want to look at these characters reacting? I'd also like to go ahead, Ryan.
It's a Marriage Story score. You compared it to Marriage Story jokingly, but I was like, this is where the cue from Marriage Story picked up, and where it didn't, the tone it carried. It's because of Marriage Story.
Gotcha. You guys call, as far as the plot of this, that Shia LaBeouf's playing a scumbag, or at least he gives off that. I don't really feel that that's his character in this film. Like, I was kind of, and I don't know if that's self-reflective of me, but I feel like, I mean, at the beginning, he's just, he's a user that is cleaned up, and he's a loving, he's trying to be a loving husband who goes through the same trauma. I mean, albeit it's worse for her because she's carried the baby, but he goes through the same trauma and then gets shut out, and then he gets left out, and he's trying to do. And I felt sorry for him. I didn't get a scumbag vibe from him at all.
Yeah.
And the way that it resolves, like, obviously he does things that aren't the greatest after the fact, but it's not that he goes out and does them right away. He's pushed away time and time again before he does those bad things. And by bad things, where it's spoilers, he hooks up with her cousin. So whatever. But then again, he just leaves. And that's the point. I'm just like, all right, he just leaves. He's tired. And then she goes and, accepts what happens and moves on, takes that pain and goes through for it. And that's all I just wanted to say about it. And that's one of the reasons that I just don't think things were fleshed out enough, and I was a little turned off by that. But that's it.
Yeah, see, I agree. Sorry, I agree with you, man. That's why I'm saying that I think that there's a script out there that there actually gives like flesh and bones to these characters, where it's like there's something like why he doesn't like push to stay, why he doesn't like push to be with her, why he takes the money, why, what I mean, like the outcomes of, I'm just picking on his character because that's what we were talking about, but there's got to be some sort of reason on why he doesn't go, you know what, I know that you have a bigger trauma, I know that we're into this together, and I know that I'm suffering as well, we need to do this together. And like there's that whole like the whole Adam Driver Scarlett Johansson scene, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like where it's just like, this is not right. And they start yelling at each other, whatever, that whole traumatic moment. But then he just, takes the money and he's like, well, here's X amount of money. I'm going, you know what I mean? I think that's where the scumbag comes from. For me, at least.
I think on top of that, because I don't know if it was just me, I got the impression that was not the first time he had met her cousin, because I kind of thought he was already sleeping with her, because the grandmother's like, hey, I know this, we should do this because of her. And then he's like, no, I got to be the one to go meet her. And then he does. And they definitely already know each other, or it's just the most awkward direction.
Right.
And I thought it was completely intentional. And I was like, oh, these two know each other. And then a couple scenes later, I was like, oh, well, that's why.
Okay. I get that. Yeah. I can see that.
But I mean, that might be me reading into it too much.
No, I think that's definitely plausible without them being too like heavy-handed with it. I mean, it makes sense, and I would have to go back and look. But that scene came off a little weird when I was watching it because I wasn't putting that together. At the time.
She does that thing where she like leans against the counter, like no professional leans against the counter when you're meeting Deadliest Catch here. Facial hair, not saying Shia LaBeouf's like a catch.
Matt, were you talking about the scene where he's at her office?
Yeah. And the first one where he goes in to her office and asks if she's there.
Okay.
And she comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought now maybe Ryan's a little bit more perceptive than I am, because I didn't get the sense that they'd known each other, but I guess if you think about it, looking at certain things, it probably makes sense that they do, or that they did. And but that scene was a little weird because it kind of like, I'm with you, Matt. I didn't think he was scumbag. Like, I got the genuine sense that he was like trying to be a good father, and like he had over 6.5 years of sobriety, and he's really trying, and he's getting shut out, and he's going through dark times, and he's not really having anybody to lean on. He's trying to be somebody for her to lean on, and it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Not only is he not providing comfort and stability for her, there's nobody for him really. So he's got to lean on substances and these encounters with, so
Cousins.
I mean, there is, cousins. He has depth, and it comes in that scene too. They hook up and everything, and then that's one thing that kind of not took me by surprise, but kind of somewhat left field. And then he does like a line of cocaine, like you see him snort on the desk, and I'm just like, that seems a little out of place here. I know he's like substance abusing, but I just feel like that's weird. That like, I think you're just trying to get a little bit more edge out of him because he's crashing at this point. But he's also, like, he says, he asks her about the painting or picture in her office and starts getting a little bit articulate about the nature of that photograph, and he's showing his intellect about building structures or bridges rather, because that's part of his work. So it's trying to get more depth, but also making it showing his crashing and scumbag-iness. And I thought that was a scene that I thought was jumbled a little too much, but otherwise I agree with a lot of what you guys said. There's a lot of good in this movie, but it's heavy stuff.
You say all that, man, and it almost makes me, where you were saying I don't want to watch this again, or I wouldn't recommend it. Well, this movie to anybody, but I'm almost at the point now where I might need to watch it again, because it almost feels like it was written so that you watch it and then you go back and you know what happens, the month after, and then you pick up on the scene before and you're like, oh, that's why they did it. Like when he sold his car, I don't think he had done cocaine yet, he had just smoked or whatever, and then you're like, oh, he's in that much trouble because he's buying all sorts of drugs and going on benders or whatnot. So you're like, oh, that's why he did that.
Right.
The weirdest thing I thought, and you brought up that scene, and it's the only scene we've talked about so far, is when he's talking to his or the lady he's having the, I guess technically, affair with. He gives that speech about the bridge or whatever, and the talk about they fell apart due to like resonance. And I guess that's supposed to be a metaphor maybe for their relationship that looked good, but at the same time, there's just like a vibration that's breaking them apart on the inside and splitting them, which I guess was a little over the top. I don't know, but
I mean, ultimately, I think this movie, like, I can't fault this movie because, like, even if, let's say, it's just not for me, I can't fault this movie because I think it sets out to do exactly what it does. Albeit there, like you guys said, there's parts of this that are missing that need to be kind of puzzle pieced in. But ultimately, I think you can't fault it because I think it achieves what it set out to do. Like, maybe you don't think that or maybe I don't think that it's the best goal to try to go for, but at least it goes for and gets what it was trying to do. So, I mean, while I don't want to ever watch this movie again, I can't fault it for things that it set out and ultimately achieved. So.
Yeah.
I'd like to state that I put this movie on while Jeannie was trying to go to bed, and she was like, next morning she's like, why did you put on that horror movie when I'm trying to go to sleep? And I'm like, I'm so sorry. She's like, we're never having children. I'm like, what? Come on, man.
Don't you want to experience this? Yay.
My baby's a blueberry.
Oh, boo.
Oh, boo.
No.
Just I'll throw her out with the bathwater.
Oh, geez.
Wow. Any more thoughts on Pieces of a Woman?
Pieces of a Man, I think, because we just spent like
20
minutes talking about Shia LaBeouf.
No, I think I've exhausted as much as I can on this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd love to talk about Vanessa Kirby more, but I think that she doesn't
really have a huge amount of dialogue in the movie.
Right.
I don't think. She just mopes around and says things and looks sad or angry or depressed.
But maybe that's
confused.
part of the whole maybe that's her take, or maybe that was by design. Maybe it's more of a actions speak louder than words kind of deal. I don't know.
Yeah.
The only, to be honest with you, I think the only thing that, now that I'm thinking about her character, the only thing that didn't make sense to me is, why does she quit her job? I think that's like the only part of that movie that like never really kind of gets explained.
Because I guess, yeah. I mean, it does that. It clips around. I mean, I'm assuming just because she was just too overwhelmed to work, and she probably didn't want to be around with her people. Kind of like how that whole thing where you see her like collecting. I just thought of that, collecting apples the entire time, and then you're like, what is she doing? And then you see her making, the things with the seeds to grow trees, and you're like, what is she doing? And then she's like, my baby smelled like apples, and you're like, oh. And then you're like, oh.
I thought that moment where she's like doing the whole apple seed, like watering them and sort of incubating them. I had no idea, like all of us knew where the story was going to go. I thought it was going to turn out that like she had like poisoned her baby, because isn't there something about how there's like cyanide and like cherry pits?
You
and
say
apples?
that, and as soon as she starts doing that, I Google that. I'm like, or can pregnant women eat apples? And they're like, yes, it's good for them. I'm like, okay, we're not going there. Then I was like, where are we going then?
It's exactly where I thought it was going. I thought we were going to get like all scientific and biology up in here.
Which now that you guys mentioned that, I'm kind of glad that they didn't, because it doesn't overhand it. It's just kind of like shit happens, and like,
yeah.
So, but yeah, like I'd love to talk about her performance more, but I think it's just like you said, like there's just, like, you have to watch it to kind of like understand like how good her performance is in this movie. So, all right. So Alex, it's on to you, sir. Alex, Classic Corner.
Alex's Classic Corners, Volume 7.
Man.
Okay. Yeah, I actually...
time restraint on this one.
Yeah. Maltese Falcon with Humphrey Bogart. I will make this quick because I actually didn't think... I thought this was my least favorite... out of 7 films that I've done? Yeah, classic. Out of 7 classic films that I've done, I like this the least. I think it was... we were talking about this before we started the video. I think it's a whole noir kind of take. Not the whole black and white alone thing, but the style of that black and white film that I just wasn't crazy about. I think this is one of those movies where there were a lot of, not a ton of characters, but there's a lot of interpersonal, like, connections between characters, and I had to keep track of too much, and it was distracting me from the story. And it's fine. Humphrey Bogart is fine in this. No problem with his performance. I didn't like Mary Astor in this. I thought she wasn't really involved. Like, her character had a big role ultimately, but she was in it for like maybe 10 minutes. I think it's what it feels like to me. I don't know. Maybe it's longer and I just didn't realize it. But yeah, I just wasn't feeling this movie. It's not a terrible movie, but it is the worst of the ones that I've watched. Of all the, I think unofficially I've watched 8, with Wonderful Life being the additional movie that I've watched that's not been assigned. I'm gonna give this a weird decimal rating. I'm gonna give it like a 5.7. This is one that I wouldn't like. I'm not saying is one, like, I knew the title very well. Like, I knew of it because I heard it in references to others and other things. But this is one that I personally feel like you, as maybe a bigger film critic, would need to watch this. But in general, for anybody, no, I'm saying that this is a pass. There are better classics to, use your time wisely on. So 5.7, not the absolute worst thing I've ever seen, but the worst classic of this segment that we've started recently. So yeah.
Good deal.
Cool. All right then. So some suggestions for next week. Lockdown with Anne Hathaway, which is on HBO. And One Night in Miami. Oh, and that movie that's coming out on Netflix.
Are any of these a comedy? I need some happiness in my
no.
life. Oh, dang
No.
it.
One Night in Miami is, I want to say Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke. There's a fourth one. I can't remember the fourth one's name now.
So that's gonna be some heavy stuff too.
Yeah, it's about how these four great, African American in the 60s came together and like for one night, and they were all in like one spot. Which
Either one,
ironically, we also had, like I said, the one on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it now. It's with Anthony Mackie.
Winter Soldier.
Outside the Wire, which is a sci-fi action movie.
I'm thinking I probably am gonna watch One Night in Miami anyway.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's my vote. Second would, if we're doing ranked, that, then Lockdown, and then the Mackie movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same ranking there.
One night I locked up Anthony Mackie in Miami.
Yeah.
All right, then let's do Regina King's One Night in Miami. And if anybody wants to watch, I will be actually watching Lockdown because I've heard some good things about it already. So we'll give like quick reviews next week.
Okay.
And I'll have The Marksman. Another old man Liam Neeson movie can hold up in theaters.
Against gangs. This time in Mexico.
Yeah, and I need my next classic movie to assignment. Yeah.
Well, Some Like It Hot or Philadelphia Story.
I knew that would be your suggestion.
Some Like It Hot. Done.
I guess
Hot.
that's yeah.
I watched it again Saturday. Movie is a trip.
I thought you were about to say atrocious.
No,
I know. I thought you were about to as well.
It's Alex. This is one of those movies that like I cannot believe got made in 1959.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I thought it was older than that.
Hmm.
I mean, I had no idea though. Okay, so Some Like It Hot. So I'll have to borrow that from Clint.
Yep. I got the Criterion. So.
Yay!
Yay! All right. Anything else, guys?
Nah, man.
No. Then this meeting is adjourned. See you guys next week.